Since we're in the run-up to Christmas, I thought I'd give this special Christmas message for two friends, a wonderfully married couple. I don't know what's happened to them in recent times, because their live stream replays they've seemed to have disappeared mysteriously. I don't know why, but that's what it seemingly came to. I don't know, but because I like the live streams and certainly the replays, but they don't happen now, unfortunately. But, all good things come to an end, don't they, as one might say. And they were good things, and they happened, despite happening in a terrible time. In a hard time, sorry. I'm happy I found out about them. This is a Christmas message to some of my good friends. Even though I've not heard from them in a great long while, I still regard them as one of my greatest friends. I first encountered them back in April of 2020. Some of you are going to be familiar of this. Dave and Sally Abel. That's who I'm talking about. And I owe so much thanks to Dave and Sally. I always do owe them thanks, and I have done since I first encountered them. But over the years, my thanking gratitude towards the two of them can only just get bigger and not smaller. They brought so many people around the world together in the darkest timing of the pandemic. As we know, it's particularly in the worst part of it. They brought so many of us around the world, which was a brilliant thing that they did. I just wished it was more widely recognised, but it wasn't, for what they did. And they both survived the COVID disease on the Diamond Princess in Japan. Dave and Sally. Hospitalised for over 3.5 weeks in Japan before flying back home to England. And they still kept going with live streams up until earlier this year. But they haven't done it since. They used to do a live stream, I could remember, every week on a Sunday. From 2020 up until the summer of 2021, before it downgraded to once a month. And it remained that way, unless if circumstances for them permitted, until around about the autumn of 2024. And I do live stream content now. And it was through Dave and Sally themselves, who one of my friends said, they got me through the lockdown in times. They did with me too. They did it with all of us who followed them. All of us who otherwise would have been very, very isolated for some of us. They brought us all together. Even though it was done virtually, it irrespectively does not deny the fact that they brought us all together, Dave and Sally. I have much thanks to them always, I really do. And it would never, my thanking gratitude will never diminish in one little bit, But since we viewed Dave and Sally, and since the times when they brought us all together, they haven't live streamed recently, and we've by and large namely moved on from the live streams that they did. Although I'm still in touch, and it was because of you, Dave and Sally, I've actually now met one of my newfound friends because I encountered him because of you two, and that was Bill. I haven't met Heather yet, and I've not met Brumsgrub, but because of Dave and Sally, I've now met Bill, who's located in Surrey, and if it wasn't for Dave and Sally, I wouldn't have had the privileged fortune of encountering many, many wonderful newfound friends, being that of Heather, Joseph, Sharon and Tim, Root, Elizabeth, Louise, Emma Faraday, Genevieve, that's Genevieve Edelman, and Kira, who Dave used to confuse her for Kiara. He was like, oh, Kira, that's it, Kira. Brumsgrub, he's a funny one. And as Heather once lovingly regarded him as, a real comedian. Or Ruth Vaughan, and there was an Elizabeth C., Florence Chestnut, and there was a Stuart as far as I'm aware, a steward who's about 20 years older than I, and there's another who's about 20 years older than mine, can't remember her name. I think she was going to be 40 in 2021 after it was revealed how old I was back. Eileen, lovely Eileen. Oh, Eileen's brilliant. Wonderful lady Eileen. Ruth Vork, a lovely Ruth Vork. She was seldom on the live streams, but we used to sometimes have conversed liaisons from time to time in the comments at times. Ruth Vork, and she's from Seattle, Washington State. And one of my friends is Washington State, Alice, who wasn't through Dave and Sally, but Graham and Fiona. You know, but I made some wonderful newfound friends. And all of my friends, I do like and value and cherish them very well and appreciate having their acquainted friendship. But there's one friend, one particular good friend, who I always cherish very highly and look up to with the fondest regard, and that is my lovely Heather. There is one friend and one who I'm always going to be tremendously thankful towards and always look up to in fond regard. That's my Heather. At the time when I encountered Dave and Sally, I was bereft with grief, but I didn't talk about it at first. But I eventually opened up. I could only open up to Dave and Sally and Heather about the loss of my Edmund, because it had been about 8 months, I think, at the time, because it was his birthday anniversary at this point. But it came at the cost and expense of me bursting into tears when I spoke about it, or opened up about it. Even though I'd written it down, I just burst into tears as I wrote it down. I wouldn't now, but I did back then. And certainly in 2021, if I'd written the whole story, it would have burst into tears, but not in so much 2022, and it wouldn't happen at all now. You know. It was good. It gave me something to do during the time when they were live streaming, I wished I'd known then it wasn't enough to have overcome the loss of my grandfather at the time. And then I ended up dealing with other problems later on down the line, which pushed me to a breaking point where it broke me. I never spoke about it in the live, but because there was just only so much I could ever talk about then, but I can talk about it now. I could eventually talk about it around about 2023, something like that, but just wouldn't, because it was deeply personal. And I wouldn't even tell David Scott that is, until this year, what it's meant to me with the event attending he got me into. I began to view Dave and Sally less after I met David, but I always tried to watch their live stream replays or live streams I could somehow make. But may I wish you both a very Merry Christmas, Dave and Sally, for 2024, and a wonderful, wonderful New Year for 2025. I have much thank and gratitude to you always. It's a Merry Christmas to you both, and all of us who viewed you, and all of us whom you brought together in such a difficult time. It's a Merry Christmas to Dave and Sally for 2024, and a wonderful, wonderful New Year. Another thing I want to point out to both of you, and all of you watching, Merry Christmas, Dave and Sally. Whatever you'll be doing, I hope it goes well. Always, always, always do we have something to thank for you. And also other people who I could thank only additionally, very greatly. Another lovely, lovely person, Sarah Keith, and of course Marie and Ellen Cliff. Other true, wonderful, notable friends I made as a result of Dave and Sally. It's certainly a Merry Christmas to the three of you and everybody else who I've had the fortunate privilege of befriending, Heather included. Hoping that you all have some good Christmas plans. I'm fingers crossed hoping it will be a good one this year, because it wasn't so good last year because my mother was ill, but it happened. But may I wish all of you, it will never stop me from wishing all of you a very safe and very happy Merry Christmas for 2024, and a wonderful, brilliant, wonderful new year for 2025. But really, the Merry Christmas credit goes to Dave and Sally themselves. Thank you for watching. Merry Christmas all, and Dave and Sally included.